Hey, Mystic Michaela, spiritual family. Welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela. Today, we are talking about how your aura acts in learning context. I mean, you could also call this auras for teachers, or what impressions your aura gives off to others about your own intelligence, or how learning presents itself to you in aura color. I mean, I could call this a lot of different things, but first, hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
So I got this idea, and this will make the whole episode make a lot more sense.
Okay.
Okay. So, I mean, the both of us, we're still learning. I mean, that's why I love this topic, because I always find new places it fits. And I found it at my kids' teacher conference. So Abby's 7, and the teacher wanted to meet with everybody individually for a teacher conference. So I'm like, okay, great. So I sign up. It's just me and her, one-on-one. She's my kid's in second grade. And I go in, and I already know, because Abby has been coming home and telling me that her seatmate, who is this lovely little girl, her seatmate is helping her all the time. And she says, Mommy, she's always getting my computer for me. She's always doing this for me. She's doing that for me. She wiped my face after I had chocolate on it. She does too much for me. And I'm always saying, Abby, tell her, come on, tell her, Abby, no, thank you. I can do that myself, or no, thank you. And I guess this little girl I didn't even tell you this. She's been raising her hand for Abby, saying, hey, Abby has to go to the bathroom.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Poor Abby. I feel so bad. And Abby, and I'm like, Abby, you got to self-advocate. You got to say, like, no, thank you. I can do it myself. I can do it. No, Mommy, then she won't like me. She won't be my friend anymore. I'm like, I don't think that's true. I'm like, I think she's a really nice little girl and she'll still be your friend. She's like, no, she won't. So this is what's been going on. So I go into the teacher conference, and the teacher, who's a lovely lady, and I like her a lot, and she works really hard and everything, but it's kind of like, and this is just my life, because I have to go act normal, and I can't talk in aura color, but I go in and I immediately absorb the impression she has of Abby.
Okay. Were you able to pick up the colors of the teacher?
Yes.
What colors was she?
She's purple blue, but she wears inauthentic red.
Purple blue, but wears inauthentic red.
Yeah. And I love her. She's a great teacher. She's very old school, and she's great and everything, but I can tell she runs a tight ship, which is fine. I like that. But, immediately I sense that she's kind of picking up the Abby that, what would I call it? Like that, the Abby that Abby wants to present, like kind of invisible, or a fall through the crack kid, or somebody who's a little bit shy or awkward.
Well, yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, I went up to that first day where you drop off all the supplies.
Oh, meet the teacher.
Meet the teacher.
Yeah.
And Abby, basically was like pinned to us.
Yes.
Not, very shy.
She's shy.
The teacher came up to her, asked her a question, and Abby kind of like almost, I don't even think she responded.
She didn't.
So she was like very, very almost over the top shy.
Yeah.
So, yeah. All right. So,
and I remember, and so that's and I think she hasn't improved a lot since then.
Yeah.
And her seatmate has been taking control of the situation and helping her, which is really sweet. But so the teacher's kind of like, well, I don't know if I'm not going to say the girl's name, but I don't know if her seatmate has been, if that's her work I'm seeing on Abby's paper or Abby's work. And immediately I'm like, oh my gosh, she doesn't think Abby's all there or something. You know what I mean? She doesn't think Abby's I'm like, well, listen.
Yeah, I think you even told me that she was singing the praises of the other student.
Yes.
She was. In the meeting with you.
She's like, oh, her seatmate, she's really high. She's like really smart. She's like really, she's on top of things. And I have to see Abby's work, not her work, she was telling me. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, two things. One, Abby does do the work at home, and I see her. She does it herself at home. And then two, without using the word empath or turquoise or anything like that, I said basically, like, listen, here's the deal. Like, Abby, doesn't want to upset her seatmate. Her seatmate's a lovely, motherly girl, and Abby wants to be her friend, and she thinks that she can't self-advocate or be more of the Abby I see at home because she's afraid she'll lose that friendship. And this is just how the dynamic seems to be working. And then you're seeing Abby just kind of go along with it in class. And the teacher just kind of stared at me like, uh-huh. And I'm
so
like,
basically just not believing you.
Yeah. She's like, okay. And I get it, because I was a teacher, and I know the last person I want to be is one of those parents. It's like, my kid, you know what I mean? Like, I understand my child and I understand what she can and can't do. Like, I get those things. And I'm not looking for Albert Einstein abilities from her or anything, but I know that she's making herself less in class to be more accepted socially. Like, I see that. And I don't know if the teacher does. And it's early in the year, so there hasn't been a ton of tests or anything like that yet.
Right.
And I just said, okay, you know, there's not, and she's like, and I just had a conference with the seatmate's mom came in, and I told her to tell her kid, like, not to help Abby so much. Well, I don't think any of that's going on, and it's just the whole thing. So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, oh, man. I'm like, it's Abby's flippin' turquoise aura that's causing this. And if we all understood more about how auras present themselves in learning contexts, not just classrooms, but in the workforce or on a team or anywhere that you go where people are kind of assessing your intelligence based on your behavior, if people understood this more, then they wouldn't see someone's shortcomings as easily. They'd be like, well, maybe their empath abilities are getting in the way, or this is happening, or that's happening.
Yeah, because, I mean, with Bree, who's a red, we never had this problem.
Well, Bree's, our other kid is red-purple, and I had the opposite problem.
Yeah, the opposite.
Like, she was the one that's like, excuse me, you made a mistake, or da-da-da, or didn't you say there was homework, or, she's not very, so extra self-advocate.
Right.
Which is great. I never had to worry about her that way. If anything, I got the emails like, can she stop talking so much in class or something like that? I'm like, sorry. No, I tell Brie. So, like, it's two different kids, but and you know what? Brianna's kindergarten teacher actually said this to me. She was so psychic. Brianna's kindergarten teacher, such a psychic lady, so purple. She was so intense. She said, I can't tell if Bree's, she even said, like, intelligent or just really precocious like that. And I mean, that was very honest. And she said it a lot nicer than that. That doesn't sound very nice the way I said it, but she said it like that. And I was like, yeah, that's Brie. Like, you don't know. Is she just extra on top of it and like in your face? Or, is it smart too? So it's kind of how we present ourselves gives people impressions about our intelligence. And from being a teacher, I understand that all kids, and you do too, and we're going to talk about this, but in my time teaching, my impression of kids is we send them to this institution and there's like one rubric. There's like one standardized way of assessing every single one of them, but they're all smart in different ways and they don't all measure up to the standardized expectations, but that doesn't mean that they're not intelligent. And you would see kids shine in other ways that'll never get recognized. And it was like, it kills you, So I just thought this was a really cool topic for today for auras. You can tell I'm getting really into it.
Yeah, no, definitely. All right, so we're going to do an ad, but then when we come back, we're going to do all the aura colors. We're not going to forget the turquoises.
Nope.
I think we're even going to throw the pinks in there. Little pink. We'll throw a little pink in there. And we're just going to discuss how your intelligence presents itself in aura color.
You've probably noticed, but the ultimate cool girl look is a fully loaded and stacked earscape. If that feels a little intimidating, then you need to check out Studs. After all, they coined the term earscape. Studs is the go-to authority for piercings and earrings and can help you curate an earscape based on your own anatomy and style. Personally, I'm obsessed with the Studs. I have very sensitive ears, and their earrings I can actually wear for days and days and days. I don't even notice they're in. I do not say this lightly. I have the most sensitive, whiny ears in the whole world. And I'll tell you, I don't notice their ear. I don't know. I just don't notice them. They're amazing and they're beautiful. And if you don't know what to do with all these extra piercings that you might have had a couple years ago, that's like me. Like when I was younger, I got all these piercings and now I don't know what to do with them. Just go to their website and they can help you curate a look. Studs is reimagining the piercing experience for each and every year. Want to refresh your look with a new piercing, or you need some pro styling advice? Shop online or stop in Studs in LA, New York City, Austin, Nashville, Miami, Boston, or Seattle, with more coming soon. Want to get a new or even first time piercing, but you're feeling a little scared? Fear not. Studs only pierces with single-use needles, never guns, so it's way safer and better, especially for advanced piercings. Studs earrings are made from high-quality materials, which won't turn your skin green. Plus, they're lightweight and durable enough to wear all the time like I do. You can even sleep and work out in them. I do. I don't even notice them. Studs has over 250 styles of hoops, huggies, studs, cuffs, and dangles, and they pierce way more than just lobes. So it's easy to create a statement look or something you keep in every day, starting at just $10 per earrings. Right now, Studs is offering our listeners 20% off your first purchase when you go to www.studs.com/KYA. Go to studs.com/KYA for 20% off your first purchase. That's studs.com/KYA. Welcome back to KYA. With us, I have a very special, esteemed guest. He is a veteran licensed, what is it?
Veteran licensed,
tenured,
retired now.
Retired teacher with over 20 plus years in the field. We have Professor.
Do you want to do my voice
Scott
too? You want to add that on
Firester.
there? The Scott voice.
Welcome.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. They used to call me Mr. Firester.
Mr. Firester.
Yeah, so it's no longer Scotty.
What are your
for the rest of the episode.
credentials, Mr. Firester?
Well, let's see. I was, I did teach 20 years. I taught
Yes.
at 4 different schools.
Okay.
I taught in inner city Brooklyn.
Yes.
I taught in a private school in Long Island.
Right.
I taught public school in rural area in Buffalo, New York.
Yeah, that was
Rural
fun.
Holland.
Yeah.
Holland, New York.
They dedicated the yearbook to you.
And,
They
yes,
did.
Yeah, they
They
did.
did.
Yeah. And I taught in Boca, a private school in Boca.
Okay.
Rica. So I like to change it up. So for me, people that know my journey from the podcast know that I really didn't like teaching. Didn't want to be a teacher for 20 years.
Right.
Don't know how. And now at this point, I really don't know how I did it for 20 years. And the only thing I had was to change it up. So
Yeah, that was
change
your-
schools.
that
Like
was
changing
your
schools.
Band-Aid.
I couldn't get out of teaching.
Right.
But I could get out of the school.
Right.
And then I had like a little reprieve from each school where the first couple of years I was like, okay, this is new. It's different.
Yeah.
Because that was the thing I really hated the most about teaching was the repetition.
The repetition.
Teaching 9th grade
Because the
world
kids
history
loved you.
5 times a day. Yeah.
Yeah.
The kids. I like the kids.
Yeah.
I did like the kids. The staff meetings, not so much. The staff. I wouldn't get along too much with the staff.
I remember the last placement you were at, I met one of your teachers, and she actually came for a reading. And this was like a while ago.
Yeah.
And she was the English teacher. And she's like, Scott at a faculty meeting is the absolute most hysterical thing you'll ever see. He's on his laptop the entire time. And I guess she looked at you at some point and you were like, yep, that'll do it. And you just like walked out.
Well, I wasn't known to do that. Like, I would just, like, they're doing the meeting. How, let's say there's 50, 60, 100 teachers there. I don't know, right? And staff and everything. I just walk out. Like, nobody knew. Like, once, like, you did your, like, hi, hey, I'm here. And, I'd shake hands with the principal or whatever.
That's like in The Office, Jim.
Yeah.
When he's like, you make a big impression at the first, like, hey,
Yeah.
principal.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd make, like, a big impression at the beginning, and then I would just kind of, like, sneak out the back.
Right.
Or, I'd go to the faculty room for, like, half the meeting. I couldn't sit through those. There was no. Could you imagine me sitting through?
No, I can't.
Those meetings.
Yeah, they put you in a sour mood.
Yeah, a real sour mood.
But the kids, you were always really good with the kids. And even today when we see kids that know you, they have like, they liked you. So that was good.
Yeah, I always had a good rapport
And I
with the
think
kids.
you like that. I feel like what I always got with the kids and you is both of you didn't want to be there the exact amount. And they appreciated that you also didn't want to be there. So it's like, man, this guy gets me. He gets me, because you'd sit there like, I don't want to be here either.
Yeah, that's what it was. Like, they'd be like, oh, I don't want to do this today. I'm like, either do I.
And they were like,
let's just
what?
do it.
And they were like, I love you.
Yeah, they're like, fine, let's get it done. Let's just do it. We have to do it. We're here anyway. That was my attitude with it. And yeah, I guess, I was a bad student as a kid too.
Right.
Like, that's the other thing. Like, so I understood them in a way. Like, I understood, like, yeah, I don't want to be here either.
You're like, I'm a slacker
Yeah.
all the time too.
Yeah. I mean,
still am.
Yeah. Literally, I was. The bell would ring at the end of the day for the most part. The kids would all go, and I'd be like the first teacher out the door.
Yeah.
And I always got crap for that.
Oh, they tell you that too when you're a teacher.
Yeah,
Don't
like,
be the first one out the door.
Yeah, stay till 4 o'clock. Like, what? What am I going to be doing there at 4 o'clock? Like, seriously, what am I doing from like 2:30 to 4 o'clock?
Right.
So I would be like the first person out of the door.
Right.
Like, basically, the kids would be out, and I'd be
And then you're just like,
them.
you're shoving them,
Yeah,
you're like
get the
elbowing
heck
them out of the way.
Yeah.
They're like, Mr. Myers there. You're like, get out of the way.
Yeah. And that was like my MO. Everyone knew that. Like, yeah, he's the first one out.
He's trampling down the little kids on your way out
we
the
had
door.
contractual time. Contractual time said 2:25. It was 2:20. That's the time I left.
So I brought you on as my expert guest today because
It's going to be a great episode.
No, because seriously, like, I haven't taught in a long time. So I do auras, teaching, and I wanted, how do they fit?
Okay.
And if you don't have kids, that's fine. Think about you as a student. And honestly, this carries into how you at work, corporate situations, everything else. So I wanted to go through each aura color and then talk about how it specifically looks and how the impressions you're going to, I guess like how you can look and pick out these types of people so that you're not missing them. Or if you are this type of person, understand how people are viewing you.
Okay. And I'll just preface this by saying I wish I knew this when I was teaching.
Yeah.
It was only the last couple of years where I was doing the teaching and the aura color thing with you. So I wish I would have known this all those years. It would have really helped me, actually.
Yeah, and I guess I learned it the way I was doing it because when I was teaching is when aura colors finally made sense to me. But the way I was using it was more for learning, like for teaching styles. So I would do kind of different instruction based off, which could be a whole other podcast episode.
Right.
But anyways, okay, so let's start with blues. All right, so I have to explain blue people first. So blues are just compassionate. They're empaths. They feel other people's feelings as their own. But the big thing with blue people is you don't always know that you're doing that you're picking up other people's thoughts, opinions, and emotions. And then I guess like modulating your behavior upon it. And that therein lies the problem when you don't know you're changing your identity and your behavior and your wants and needs because of what you're picking up from the environment. So blues in, I feel like, learning situations can act invisible. They can act completely invisible, and they'll let others shine. They'll let others shine instead of themselves. And they would just rather fit in than stand out because it feels weird to have everyone kind of pay attention to you. And they know what other people's needs are. So they might be the type of kid or learner that's like, oh, they need more attention than I do. So I'll just sit this one out, or I won't assert my knowledge on that subject because that kid needs it more than I do to be right or whatever. So what did you see in blues in the classroom?
Okay. So again, now this is all looking back on it.
Yeah.
Now. So I would say the blues probably were the ones that would help me. So I had a lot of helpers.
Oh, you did.
Especially the girls would help me with my room. I did not know how to decorate. I'm about decorating things. It's just bare bones unless you guys want to do something. And I was like, fine, go do it. So I would say they're the ones that kind of helped me with decorating the room.
Oh, sure, yeah. Your room looked great.
Yeah.
And I remember you had a pack of girls that just like knew, and you're the type, you're like, here's my cupboard, go for it.
Yeah. Like whatever you did, I'm like, better than it was.
They're bringing in their own stuff. Like, you're like, okay.
Because I never made a bill. I literally, in all 20 years, never made a bulletin board. Like, that was like a thing. Actually, I think it was like a requirement. You must make 1 or 2 bulletin boards a year.
Like in the hallway?
Yeah, in the hallway. I'm like, that never happened. I never did that. Okay. Never did it.
Your pack of blue girls did it.
Yeah. So I would say those were the ones that probably were my helpers throughout the years. They would do all my errands for me.
You just used them as slaves.
They did. They wanted to. They wanted it. I mean,
right. That's what happened.
So anyway, I would say that. The other thing I would say is like the blues, they might have been like the toughest to, I don't know, like say like understand their learning, or if they maybe had a learning disability. Yeah. Or maybe they were someone who might have fallen through the cracks. You don't know if they don't understand something. Yeah, looking back at it again. Right. Yeah, like maybe I wasn't sure. Like, they don't have comprehension. What's their problem? What's going on? And they might not even know their own problem. Right. And then they're really good at hiding it because they can be invisible. And they're great. And I would always think that they're great. I'm assuming, again, I have to jog the memory here, but their grade would probably be pretty good. So like, your blues, typically they're not going to be that 70s and 60s. They would probably be in the high 80s or low 90s. Right. And it's probably, knowing me because they're helping me out. Yeah, I probably threw them some points. Right. Like when it came to grading their paper. If it's between like a D and a C. Yeah. Things, you got to remember when you're a teacher and you're looking at, you're grading someone's paper in history, it's subjective. this could be a B plus or it could be a B. Which one is? All right, you know what? Nice kid, you've been doing well.
Yeah.
I give you the A-.
I bet that happens to a lot of blue kids.
Yeah.
Like they get kind of shoved through because they're nice people.
Yeah. Now, teachers today don't admit that, it gets you in trouble.
You're letting all the secrets go.
But, I'm not a teacher anymore, so I can say this. But, you were nice to me. You got it.
Well, I mean, that's the saying, you catch more flies with honey than vinegar. No, it's true. I mean, and they always say, the kid that's like, hey, good morning. Can I help you with that? They're just like a nice person.
Yeah.
What are you going to make their life a living hell?
Right,
or if they're struggling, are you going to like really, is it fun to kick them when they're down?
Exactly.
No. And I'm sure like a lot of, in learning situations, a lot of blue kids probably get pushed up a little bit.
I had some leeway, at the end of the semester, you could, if they had like an 89, you had the choice, do you bump them to a 90 or, I'd bump them because, they were nice.
They were nice.
They were nice, yeah. I mean,
they weren't like those red kids.
Exactly. No. Them I was looking to take points away.
No, we'll get to that. All right.
So that's what I would say about the Blues.
All right, yeah, and I like that, and I think the majority of kids, and I wanted to bring this up because I totally forgot about this. At the rural teaching situation in Buffalo, you taught at Holland. You taught at Holland.
Yeah, which is south.
Explain where that is.
Okay, so this is getting a little bit off topic.
It is, but it's funny.
So I'm originally from Long Island, suburb of New York City. Okay, I went up to Buffalo, got my master's at UB in Amherst, which is a busy area. Mm-hmm. And then there's Holland. So once you go to Buffalo, then you go south, you get this, what are called the South Towns, and they have like Orchard Park where the Bills play. But once you leave Orchard Park, you're in like farmland.
It's farmland. It's straight up.
The first time I drove there, and it took about a half hour from Orchard, I used to live in Orchard Park. It took me about a half hour to get there. I thought I was in another world. Yeah, I didn't know where I was.
It's very isolated.
Yeah, like sheep were crossing as I was driving.
Real, yeah.
No, real. Yeah, really.
He's not even joking.
Not even joking. Like, flock of geese, almost hit my car.
Kids drove their tractors to school.
Yeah, there was drive your tractor to school day.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like another world out there. Mm-hmm. But okay, that's where I was teaching for, I think, 7 years.
Well, they threw you the SAD club.
They did.
So
you
could run out of a lot of faculty meetings, but someone got your number and was like, listen, dude, you're running SAD. And that's Students Against Drunk Driving.
Yes, I did run the SAD
And
club.
you had one thing to do every year, and that was sell water at their school play, which was
candy.
like...
Yeah, water and candy.
By the way, the school play in this town was like Broadway.
It was.
Okay, like everyone... You think you probably have a high school near you and they have a school play and maybe like just parents go? No. Everyone goes. This is like the event of the flipping year.
We made thousands of dollars
and you're
sales.
The concessions. Yeah. But you had one kid.
Yes.
Do you remember that kid? Do you remember his name? I don't know.
It was like Dimitri.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
And every year, and he was very blue.
Yeah.
And every year,
he was best though.
He was blue and yellow, and you picked him out. I remember every year, and he shone. And I don't even know if you noticed this because I was there every year watching this, and he wasn't even your kid, and you were like, Dimitri, you helping me out? And he's like, yes, sir. And he shone so bright, his aura. And because you said like, hey, I need you, you're my head guy. So I feel like as a blue, and a yellow too, because he was probably good at organizing things, but as a blue, that meant a lot to him. And I feel like blue kids need to be recognized. That makes them feel good inside. Yeah. So all your little helpers and errand runners.
Yes. He was. Yeah.
Maybe you were giving them something.
Maybe. All right. SAD club. Yeah.
SAD. They threw you SAD. Okay. Indigos. Okay. So indigos, all the blue stuff. Plus, I would say indigos are even better at it. At meaning being invisible. Like indigos take the whole invisible thing and then they double down almost to a stubborn level. Do not notice me. Do not speak to me. Do not recognize me. I am here. Here's my grade. I can see them like they're not great self-advocates. They can be not even noticed. Are they smart? Are they not smart? Are they struggling? Are they not struggling? Like you don't know. It's very hard to see their true ability, and so it's kind of like they doubled down on the invisible thing. What did you notice about the indigo kids looking back?
Yeah, looking back, I wasn't the indigo whisperer at the time.
Yeah,
so
that's recent.
Yes, that's recent. I didn't have those skills. If I had those skills, it would have been incredible back then. I really wish I did. I could probably help a lot of these people. Yeah, I would say I love the indigo people. Like going back on it, like those were probably my favorite.
Aw.
And the reason being is because they were so invisible.
Oh,
They
like no problem.
they were no problem. They never bothered me. You know,
Yeah.
that was my whole thing. Is like it was like the thing, if you don't bother me, you're doing something right. You know? So these kids were they were under the radar. Now on the one and in one way it was, and I never probably got to know them that well.
Yeah.
So they were so quiet or so shy that it was hard to form a connection. And I, knowing me as a Red, I would try to do that.
Yeah, you'd be like, "Hey, you're quiet. Let's call on you." Yeah.
But I guess that would be probably the difference between the indigo and the blue, whereas the blues would come up to me and they would be my helpers, and the indigos probably were very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Firester, and walk out the door, even if I got like a thank you. So there was that. I guess, but you know what? I actually did understand them.
Yeah.
Because, sometimes I would do, you'd have projects and, there are kids that don't like to talk in class.
Yeah.
Or they don't like to present.
That was me.
Or they don't like to read in class.
Yeah,
or they
all
don't
that.
like to be called on.
Right.
And I kind of knew that. And I would never, ever make them.
That's nice.
That was like one thing, like, you know what? You don't want to do that? You don't have to.
Oh, that was nice of you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of teachers aren't like that.
Yeah, I know a lot of teachers would be like, no, you're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
50% of your grade. You got to do it.
You have to go speak here. Yeah.
And to me, I was like, you don't want to do it? Okay, don't do it. Do something else.
Right.
Give me something else. Give me a paper. Give me,
And they'd probably do that.
And, oh, yeah, definitely.
They're like, oh, yeah, sure.
No, they were very thankful. Very, very thankful.
That was nice of you.
Yeah. And so maybe I was an indigo whisperer back then.
Yeah.
Because I did understand that. And I would never make them do anything that felt them uncomfortable. I never wanted to put them in an uncomfortable position.
Well, that was really nice because indigos don't like to feel uncomfortable.
Right.
It's like it paralyzes an indigo.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I think like with indigos is they're so good at not being known. And if you're indigo or if you relate to this, ask yourself, in what situations do I make sure people don't know me? Because I think in a classroom situation, that is not the context to know an indigo. So if you're one-on-one with them, sure, they'll let you know them. But in a classroom, no. Yeah. It's too many other people around. I can't be me ever. So that's interesting. But maybe in that small way, by saying, hey, if you don't want to, that's fine. I was like, oh my gosh, thank you for validating me. Thank you for seeing me. Yeah. Thank you for seeing that. And in that way, it was like, oh.
Yeah,
somebody noticed me. Thank you.
And like at the end of the year, the ones that you got, like they would always write on their final exam papers like messages to be. And those are the ones that always gave you these messages that like, like you're the greatest teacher of all time. And I'm like, we didn't talk all year. Like I don't.
They're like a heartfelt indigo message.
Yeah.
And you're like, what's your last name again?
Yeah. Like, wait, were you in which class? And it's like,
that's so us.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. So it's a good question because I know a lot of indigos listen, like, where am I not letting people get to know me? And what contexts and what does that mean?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about purples. So, purples are wild cards. And I have to say, there's the quiet purple and the loud purple. Okay. That's like, I just have to, because people are always like, I'm a purple and I don't like to dance on tables. You either do it or you think it. Okay. So sometimes I would say purples in general are rebellious. They're not always loudly rebellious, but in their brains, they always are. So that's kind of like if you're purple, but precocious. Purples can be very precocious. And that to me can seem like higher capability. So you can come across like you can do a lot when you're purple sometimes because you're like, super vibrant and you're great at being thrown into different contexts and learning situations and stuff. You always got something to say about something, even if you don't know what's going on, like, which was me all the time, kind of like, well, that's it. You can get some point and say it and people can be like, oh, cool. Yeah, that makes sense. That's interesting. You said that because you're like, oh, thank God, because you're creative. Purples excel. This was always me in subject where there's not one answer. So I sucked at math because nothing gives me more stress than there's only one number in the world of numbers. That's the answer for this. Whereas in English class, I was like, oh, thank God. You know what I mean? Like we can play with this a little bit. But what did you notice about purples?
All right. Once again, looking back, the purples. All right. Now that I think about it, purples were probably the ones that, forgot their homework or maybe did their homework and handed in all sloppy. Maybe, a lot of times I would get kids that would like make beautiful drawings on homework assignments. The assignment might not have been that great, what they did, but you'd have this incredible mural of Star Wars characters. To perfection, because I knew I like Star Wars or something.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so I've had the greatest drawings of me as Yoda.
And you have to put a 62 on the paper, and you're like, I'm really sorry, but this drawing's 100.
Yeah, the drawing's great. And then, sometimes I would give them throw a bone.
You're like, hey.
Yeah. The one thing I think that would probably, and then I think, when it came to the creative stuff, the presentations, anything outside of the box, now I'm thinking those were the purples were shining. Yeah. Again, I didn't know that at the time, but if I gave a presentation or as, going up in the years as my teaching, we went to videos and things like that. I'm so ancient. I don't talk about it.
Now they have smartboards. They don't even do chalkboards anymore.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, I had that.
You had a smartboard?
Yeah, I had a smartboard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, everything's on tablets now, right?
Yeah, the kids are on tablets.
The kids were handing in paper. I was the last one. You have to hand it in on lined paper.
Right.
Mr. Firester, we just handed it in a Google Doc now.
Yeah.
I'm no, lined paper. All our other teachers take off if we handed it on lined paper.
You're I'm not learning another software system.
Oh, I refused.
In my life.
Yeah, I actually refused all that. But yeah, I would say, they were messy, kind of more messy with their work. And sometimes I would think that would cost them in a way because presentation, yellows probably shine. We'll get to that in a second.
Yeah.
But, if you handed something sloppy with because I got things with missing parts of the paper or lines all over it.
Yeah,
and all that
purples
stuff.
make mistakes.
Make
too.
a lot of mistakes.
They forget, or they're kind of all over the place, or they're disorganized. So they're like, "Oh, I misplaced it. I know I did it, but where is it?"
Right.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, so the information could have been okay, but
but you can
it's
come
hard
across
to get through all that. Yeah,
you can come across as kind of not with it, or not as intelligent.
Yeah.
Or
vice versa.
Or
yeah, if they're kind of loud and stuff, you're like, oh yeah, they're in current events and they know everything.
Right.
They think they know everything.
They're hard to read.
They're hard to read,
and their work doesn't always. I guess both ways. Their work or what they produce does not. It's not always a correct assessment of their abilities.
That's what I would say. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
either way, they might be really great, but they don't get it, or not at all good, but they do get it. You don't know.
I think that's
because
correct.
they're just going to be kind of flashy in some way, or get you, or distract you with shiny objects. So they kind of distract you like that. Oh yeah, I guess you don't get it, but that was an interesting point you made. All right,
we'll take a little break and then we'll come back with yellow.
Okay.
October is National Eczema Awareness Month, according to the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America. While it's usually thought of as a childhood disease, around 16.5 million adults in the U.S. have eczema. While it affects people in various ways, 51.3% of adults with atopic dermatitis, which is the most common form of eczema, say it limits their lifestyle, and 39% it causes them to avoid social interaction because of their appearance, and 43% say it affects their activities. Luckily, as you know, GladSkin is here to help. So please be encouraged to spread this awareness during the month of October. Personally, I have a child. My little one has eczema, and if you're a parent, it's really hard to see your child struggle with itchiness and discomfort from eczema. And I'm always hesitant to try new products, but I'll tell you, GladSkin has been such a godsend. It's safe and gentle on my little one's skin. GladSkin is a new category of skin treatment that is made for people of all ages with eczema-prone, acne-prone, and rosacea-prone skin. But what actually causes the itchiness, redness, inflammation, and discomfort in the skin? It's a disruption of the bacterial environment, also called the skin microbiome. GladSkin specifically works to target the imbalance in your skin's microbiome, but unlike other skin brands and prescription medications, GladSkin uses MicroBalance, a revolutionary protein that restores the balance of the good and bad bacteria that live on your skin so it can finally heal. It is so effective that 91% of users, adults and children, who tried their top-selling eczema cream reported significant improvement after just 7 days. GladSkin's new oatmeal-free formula is non-toxic and free of steroids and other common irritants, and pediatricians and dermatologists love GladSkin for even the littlest of babies. We use it here, and let me tell you, it's good stuff. So if you've been frustrated with your treatment options, don't wait to try GladSkin. They're offering my listeners 15% off plus free shipping on your first order at gladskin.com/KYA. That's gladskin.com/KYA. gladskin.com/KYA for 15% off plus free shipping. gladskin.com/KYA. Now a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. You know, many times I can get stuck in kind of just this cyclone, focusing on all my problems instead of solutions. And with a different mindset, that can be a lot less stressful and anxiety producing. It can be very tough to train your brain to stay in a problem solving mode when faced with a challenge in life. But I'll tell you, having a BetterHelp therapist has been such a gift to me in starting to make progress towards a different mindset. I love BetterHelp therapy because it's online and it's really easy, and I do it on the phone, and it's been a great way to framework me, and throughout doing it for as long as I have now, I've been able to just move forward in a healthier way. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is a great option. It's convenient, it's accessible, affordable, and it's entirely online. Get matched with a therapist after filling out a very brief survey, and switch therapists anytime. When you want to be a better problem solver, therapy, it can get you there. Visit betterhelp.com/KYA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/KYA. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
All right, before we get into yellow, I wanted to say one more thing about purples, because I feel like with purples, their intelligence is something that can't really be pinned down. It's everywhere. It's kind of explosive, and it's multifaceted, and it's not always focused. And this is probably why they do better in contexts of like theater or art or creativity or graphic arts or anything that's kind of like a whole approach to something rather than a focus limited approach with parameters. They don't do great in boxes. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
So it's really sad sometimes when you see a purple. I remember this from you taught way more than I did, but like just you saw these creative kids, you know, and it was like, oh, you know, but they just didn't thrive in this institution of learning, but they were so intelligent, but you know they'd never get the pats on the back, and you know they'd never get the applause. And that's just arts, right? Arts, and anywhere where, you know, kids are more free to be themselves. So that always made me sad. Like they were the most interesting kids with great minds, but they never got patted on the back for that. I felt bad.
No, yeah. And again, looking back on it, I think the purples were the ones. I think a lot of purples actually, in some ways, like my teaching more, maybe the most in some ways, because, you know, I was a history teacher, and, you know, I used to teach it from like my red perspective, which is kind of like from the underdog, not always following, you know, maybe you don't always have to follow the conformity. Yeah,
like government's not always right, like that kind of thing.
You know, and, you know, like, so when I would teach like World War II stuff, like the rise of fascism with Hitler and Mussolini, you know, a lot of or Vietnam War. I see a lot of these purples, I think, you know, like eyes light up and really get into it. And that's probably because from the perspective how I was teaching it. Yeah. You know, maybe like a little bit of rebellion and things like that. You know, I remember, you know, at that time, like those would be the kids that would, you know, in the morning you'd have to say the pledge.
Yes. Oh, God, yeah. I remember that.
Those would be sometimes the kids. Now that I think about it, those would be the kids that say, I'm not doing the pledge. Because I don't like what was going on, you know, making a stand or something like that. And, you know, that put me in a tricky position. I remember one time it put me in a real tricky position.
Yeah, you got in trouble.
I did get in trouble.
Yeah. Did you?
The principal came and talked to me about it.
Oh, he did?
And I said, you know what? It's not my place.
Well, you have to explain what happened.
So, yeah, basically I had a, you know, we were during the...
She was very purple, obviously.
Now that I think back at it.
Yeah.
And I believe we were doing the Vietnam War. Okay. You know, and again, that was, you know, war. A lot of Americans protested and didn't understand the reasons why we were there, right? You know, young boys, 19 years old, going to fight communism. Didn't even know what the word communism meant. Right. And they're living, you know, dying for this and killing babies over this stuff. So, you know, I guess she was angry by it and maybe inspired in a way, and she refused to stand in the morning for the pledge.
And she was in whose home?
She was in my homeroom, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
She was in my homeroom. And I guess some of the kids must have told the principal. Remember, it's a very tight-knit rural school.
Yeah, it's very rural.
You know, everybody knows exactly what you're saying.
Everyone says the pledge, right?
Everyone says the pledge. Everyone drives their tractor to school.
You get it,
yeah. Okay. So the principal came up to me one day. He's like, there's a kid in your homeroom not standing for the pledge.
Right.
Like, why don't you tell me about this? She's got to stand for the pledge. And
actually, she doesn't.
And I said, I don't know. I'm not getting involved.
Right.
I'm not going to.
Wasn't that her right? Isn't that her right?
I don't know the rules or whatever, but I wasn't going to make her stand for the pledge if she didn't want to stand for the pledge.
Right.
And she told me why. She did tell me why.
Okay.
Because she was like angry about things that we had done that the U.S. had done in their history.
Right.
Like things like that, which she'd learned throughout the course of the year.
Oh, God.
And,
you're like inciting.
Inciting rebellion here in Holland, New York. But he came to me and I said, "I'm not making your stash."
Right.
So
it was hard. Yeah, people have to want to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't tenured at the time either.
Oh God.
So
well, they kept you.
I was like, "Hey, you want to let me go over it? Let me go."
You're like, please, please fire me.
That was the other thing. I was always trying to get fired.
You're like, please fire
I was
me.
always like pushing the envelope. Like, if I don't go to this faculty meeting,
If I
will
don't
you
make
fire
the
me?
kids stand for the pledge.
Yeah. If I don't do this, will you fire me?
Right.
And they never did.
Oh my God. That's funny.
Yeah. Like I had my whole portfolio. I refused. Remember, I think I told that story. Where
Oh yeah, we told that one. Yeah,
I refused to do it.
Yeah, they hated you.
Yeah.
But the kids liked you, and the
kids loved
purples
me,
enjoyed you.
Yeah, the parents would, and the parents loved me.
Parents liked you.
Parents loved me.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on to yellows.
All right, yellows. So yellows. Okay, yellows like an order to things. This is how they see the world. They like to create a foundation for themselves before they get into it, so they can be kind of, in learning situations. Okay, what's going on? Let me get the whole field here leveled. Let me see what's going on. Let me get on top of things. I feel like in learning situations, they're concerned with deadlines. They got their planner out. They know what has to be done. I do get that they can get stuck in perfection. So sometimes it's hard for them to jump into something because they don't feel like they're prepared or they can. So with yellow learners, it's kind of like, all right, just do it. You got to throw yourself in. Okay. It's never going to be perfect. Get in there. Just learn it. Just do it. Just do the project. Just, work it out. It's not going to be perfect until, whatever. And, what did you notice with yellows?
Okay. So yellows right now would be the easiest for me to spot.
Okay.
So so at that time, now it was mostly girls,
Mm-hmm.
I would say. These were the ones that were on top of their grades. They were wanting extra credit the minute after like a test was given or an assignment was given. They could be like the second day of school. Can I do extra credit? I'm like, just wait to the end of the semester. Let's see what your grade is at that point.
They're the extra credit.
Yeah, they'd be like, extra credit, please.
Extra credit,
it's
kids.
day 3. It's like we have a whole semester to go. Come to me at the end of the semester.
Like,
let's
if
see
you're
what your
nice,
grade
I'm
is.
just going to give you extra grades.
Exactly.
Anyways.
Just be like the blue and you'll get the points. Very presentable work. At that time, like I was saying, everything would be typed out, so they print everything out.
Yeah, okay.
Printing
They're
instead
neat
of
and tidy.
handwriting. At that time, you could do either one. They were the ones that would like hold me to the syllabus. Like, what are you doing? I wrote that syllabus 10 years ago. I don't even remember what was on the syllabus, but they'd hold you to it. It says here on your syllabus that we doing this, this, and this. I'm like, all right, well, we're not doing that. Okay.
Right.
Yeah. So they were very on top of things, on top of their grades. Always knew their grade to to the point.
Yeah.
Whatever. Like if they had a 92, they knew they had a 92.
Yeah.
And they probably knew what they needed to get a 95. So those would have been the yellows.
Okay.
Very on top of it. And again, in the back of my mind, kind of. They would probably irk me a little bit, like, come on, all right,
Probably because they were telling you they probably noticed how you could do your job a little better, Scott.
Sure
and they
did,
were like,
yeah. And they were right. Look, if you hand out a syllabus, you should stick to the syllabus.
yeah. They're probably like, hey, is this a syllabus that you've been handing out for like 6 years in a row with like, by the way, there's these typos?
Yeah. It was 10 years, yeah.
10 years in a row.
Yeah.
And you're not sticking to it. Excuse me. And you're like, go away, kid.
Why does this class say European history? I thought we're in U.S. history. Oh, I forgot.
I forgot to change the title. Sorry. Forgot to white it out and write it in before my printer.
Exactly.
So the yellows are and yellows, they do that out of love.
They do.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like my friend Megan, Megan King, she started her own podcast, and I was just looking at it, and there's a huge typo in the description of the podcast. And I screenshotted it and I circled it and I texted it to her and she's like, oh my God, thank you so much. She's like, I trained you well, my young yellow or something. She was joking. And if you sent that to me, I'd be like, oh my God, thank you so much. But if you sent that to some people, they might be like, ugh, like you.
Yeah.
They'd be like, yeah. Wow. Why are you showing me this?
Yeah, let's just leave it.
But yellows appreciate being called out is my point, which means that their love language is calling you out. Here, you might want to know, like whenever I put up something like in my page because I always have spelling errors on any graphics I make or any stories I do, I'll always get the little yellow DMs like, hey, you spelled this wrong. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Because I know they're just trying to love me. So anyway, they're probably just trying to help you do your job better. But my I guess in life with yellows, how to just take this to the bigger picture. How do you stop yourself from starting something because you don't feel like it's set up or perfect or the foundation's correct? Like how are you limiting yourself with your organization? Because there's, you got to watch that. Because, All right. So greens. All right. So greens. Number one thing when I do readings, and I talked about this I'm sure I talked about this in the Kid Aura episode. If a green doesn't care, if they don't have an intrinsic care, there's no motivation. Like greens are motivated by their own interests. They don't want to please you. They're not into doing something because everybody else is doing it. It's if I'm interested, I'll do it, which can make them interesting in learning situations because if they're not interested in something, they won't make themselves learn it. And if they do, they become very unhappy people. So I'll see like a lot of green learners like just doing good in one thing and then awful in another thing because they cared and then they didn't. And then they do not have like an external need to please other people based on their learning. Like they learn for themselves. They don't learn for anybody else but themselves. What did you notice about green learners?
Yeah. The greens, I would say, they were hit or miss.
Okay.
Looking back on it. Like maybe if they were really into the topic, they would ask really intricate questions. Those were the tough, like probably the real tough hitting questions. Like sometimes
greens, that's the best question.
Where I'm just like, all right, how do I make this sound good? I don't know the answer.
You're like, I got to do like 8.
But I know enough about history where I could divert it and make it sound like I know the answer.
That's really funny.
Which is like, half my job. So
you're like, ooh, I didn't restudy this before I taught it because I've been teaching it 20 times. But you just asked me a question I've never been asked before.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Like it really. Yeah. And so I think those were the greens now. I think the greens sometimes were better presenting orally. So like if we were having a conversation, they would ask these hard hitting questions. You would think they might have been really into the subject matter if there was a subject matter that they liked or enjoyed. But then it came to the test and you realize, wait a second, Jimmy, like he knew everything in class.
Right.
Why did he get a 75 on the test?
Right.
And you kind of shocked me a little bit. Like, he did everything, but he probably just didn't either care or, maybe he learned the topic and he didn't really care.
That's it. He learned it in the discourse or he learned it in the way he wanted to learn it. And then the test came out. He's like, I don't need to do this again. I already know it.
Yeah. And you'd see like answers that were just like kind of blank, but I'm like, you answered it in class.
Right.
Why didn't you just put it on the paper?
Because he already did it. Why does he have to do it again?
Yeah.
It's like, I already said it to you. You already know that I know it. Why do I have to write it down on this day on this piece of paper? That's weird. And when you think about it, I guess it is.
It is weird.
It is actually. Yeah. Because you already showed me you do know it, I guess.
It's really weird. I mean, I had those, I think,
point.
Really green kid. I once taught a pass-fail class, economics, pass-fail. So it was just pass-fail.
Right.
So if you got a 60, I think, let's say it's 65. If you got a 65, you pass. If you got a 99, you pass. It just goes down as a pass. It like doesn't it doesn't say 99. It just says pass. So there was one kid that he mathematically figured out every assignment I gave and the percentage he would need to do to pass it. So he would hand in papers with like 70% done. And knowing, like, well, it doesn't matter anyway because
it's true. He's right.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's still going to go down as a pass.
So funny.
So he calculated everything.
And the yellows are like, wait a second, is there extra credit?
Like, no, you can't get it. You can't get a P plus. Like, that's it.
A P plus.
A P plus.
But I want a P plus. Can you make a P plus? That's in like School of Rock. Like when he has to give the girls, all right, 3 gold stars to that one girl. That's funny. It's like a yellow.
So,
well, that's funny. Yeah. I feel like with greens and you teaching history, because like you said, history tends to be subjective. It really depends on who's teaching it. Were they more interested in maybe like geography or I guess like tactical operations of like battlefields, like things like that?
Looking back at it, yes, I would say yes.
They're like, hey, what direction was this or what was there? Yeah.
Yeah. And for me, I never really got into the military history.
Right.
It was just
that's like a whole like the Civil War
Yeah.
buffs, like that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, it wasn't part of the curriculum.
they were on the east side of the hill, next to this river,
Yeah, I never-
like that. But
Yeah.
they wanted to know probably that.
Yeah, which actually was one of the hardest. Yeah, they definitely did. Yeah, they would
Yeah.
ask questions about that, and that was actually probably part of history that was hard for me because I couldn't visualize
You're
on
not
a battlefield where
yes, you're not a visualizer.
because I always why am I was never into like the battle stuff
That makes sense.
of
Why?
the world wars or Civil War. I was interested in how the war got started and how it ended and stuff like that, but not the battles so much. And that makes sense now for me being a red.
Because I can see the greens being
I couldn't
like.
see it.
Plus, you're not a visualizer.
And I'm not a visualizer,
You can't
yeah,
visualize. If you've been following the podcast, some of you can see things in your head, and some of you can't.
Yeah, I
and
know.
Scott can't, and I
can't.
can. And that's a big thing when you're teaching, because it's weird. Because Abby, our second grader, she got this like assignment and was like, paint a picture in your head and describe. It's like not every kid can do that. Like, but if I don't think everybody knows that. Like, not everybody can see things in their head. Anyways, but I wanted to know that because I can see
Yes, I would
Greens
say
being into that.
Yeah, I would think the green. Yeah, they were into because I would get a lot of like battle questions and things like that.
Right.
So that must have been the Greens asking, I would assume,
Right.
or maybe some precocious red boys. I don't know that really were into it
Like,
too.
yeah,
Maybe.
like cool, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, with and that's interesting to me. A couple things. I think the first thing that's interesting to me is like, okay, so with green people, just like taking it into the bigger picture. I feel like, yeah, and if you know green people in your life or you are a green person, it doesn't mean that you're not intelligent if you're not into something. It just means that you're taking your interest and you're honing it a lot into kind of more specialties or things that you are truly motivated. But it's not about being good at everything. It's about being good at what you want to be good at. And that doesn't mean somebody has a lack of intelligence or anything like that. It just means that they're choosing, which I think is interesting. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So red learners. All right. So reds are definitely just more of an intense crew. We have a red daughter, so we can like it's very much and you're red, so I get the reds a lot. They can be a little bit competitive with themselves about things, with others sometimes, and that's just how they are. And we've talked about that. I talked about that in the Red Kid episode. Doesn't mean you're a bad person if you're competitive. And especially with girls and females, like you can be competitive, that's okay. But unfortunately in society that you're taught that that's wrong, especially if you're a girl. They're very logical. They like practicality. They want kind of straightforward, and they can be very assertive. So what did you notice with the red kids and learners?
Yeah, I mean, so the Reds, I would say they were probably the loudest. Mm-hmm. They were also probably the ones that got in trouble the most.
Okay.
The kids probably going to the office or
They don't care as much about the confrontation.
They don't care.
They're not into authority all the time.
Yeah. Maybe the class clown or maybe the jocks of the school, things like that. I mean, I was
talkative.
I know how I was. I was a red kid, and I was a teacher's nightmare. I mean, I would be the one like jumping on a table in the middle of class, and they'd be like, "What are you doing?"
What are you doing?
And I don't know what I was doing, but I thought it was funny at the
There might have
time.
been something truly wrong with you, though.
Yeah, there was. I mean, the things I used to do, I'm like, why did I do that? I
Right.
assume because I was just like red and wanted to tell a joke or
like a lot of energy.
yeah,
Like reds have a lot of energy.
Yeah.
They're kind of physical people.
Yeah.
So sometimes red people have a hard time sitting still.
yeah, exactly. Like one time, like after lunch, I had a class and I brought my toothbrush and my toothpaste and a cup of water and started brushing my teeth in class. This is in high school. And the teacher's like, look at me, like, what are you doing? And I'm like, yeah. Like now that I think about it, what was I doing? I was trying to make a joke. I guess,
Trying to get attention.
Yeah. So that's how I view the Reds, I guess.
Well, Bree's not doing that. We like.
No, thank God.
She's
I don't think anybody else is doing
No.
that. I don't know why I thought that was funny.
Bree's not a troublemaker.
Yeah.
But I think that they're probably not afraid to speak their mind.
Right.
Or
Exactly.
What about reds? You said the blues are really, so sweet. Give them a couple points. What about red kids in that world?
Yeah, I mean, they're not as
Red
cuddly.
learners.
Yeah, they're not
Yeah.
the cuddly kid. They're not the kid that's going to come up and help you and, I guess want to please you in that case, like with the blues. So, they might be the kid that your grade's your grade.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you got a 92? That's what you deserve. You got a
Right.
92. You're asking me for 2 points at the end of the trimester?
You're fine. You got a
No,
92.
you got a 92.
Because of just the way that you are.
Yeah, just because of the way you maybe you were acting during class or throughout the thing, you're not getting that bonus. You know, when I grade your paper, I'm just grading it straight. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Am I going to give you the benefit of the doubt here? no, you've been kind of reddish in class,
Yeah.
You're getting a B+.
I appreciate you being honest about it.
Yes. Yeah.
That's very honest.
I'm very honest, yes. I am very honest. This is true.
Because I feel like I see that with our own kid, with our older one, because she is really smart.
This could be something that could
But I
her.
can see this with her. Like, she's not super duper cuddly.
Yeah.
I get that. And I can see teachers being like, and she's even said, like, so-and-so, they're so nice to them. And, like, I asked them, and they're like, go away. You have a 96. What do you want? Like that. And she doesn't even know that that's the vibe she's projecting a little bit. And that's why I always, man, I feel bad for red women, because red guys can kind of, and that's just, I did a whole episode on auras and gender if you want to go back to that. But like, red guys can get away with it because, like, oh, he's tough, or he's a leader, he's whatever gender nonsense you want to put on that. But with women, it's like, oh, what a B, or she's tough, or ooh, she's scary, or like whatever. And they're just acting the same way. But women are supposed to be more cuddly or something. So I can see if you're a red woman and you're in a learning situation, people are going to be tougher on you. Yeah. People are going to be tough on you. They're going to test you. And that confidence you exude, they're going to want to, like, knock you off your pillar a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of like,
that makes sense.
Kind of like knock you down a notch, get you a little more humble.
Yeah. And we could talk about it at the end, if we have a little extra time, where I went up to parent night and I met Bria's teachers, and I didn't get any, she's all sweet and cuddly. I didn't get any of that. I got what you were talking about, but we can save that for the end if we have a little time. But the red is just, they're, in being in history, I probably, and again, I don't want to put any color roles to this, but I think probably a lot of, like, the boys were more into, can I say that the boys were probably more?
Say the honest how you felt it.
I felt the boys were more into it than the girls.
In history?
Yeah, in history. Not to say all. I mean, I definitely had a lot of girls that were into it. I think the boys were more into it than the girls.
I always liked
throughout
history.
The years.
Depended how you taught it. Like, if you teach it like story time, I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I tried to do, make it interesting.
Yeah.
But I could always tell, like, the boys, and it's probably, now looking back on it, it's probably those red boys that really kind of, because sometimes they really get into the history.
Right.
I don't know.
But I think, wasn't your class like a big discourse class, the way you taught it? Weren't you talking a lot, and then you'd, like, try to get them to talk?
Yeah, I mean, I never try to a lot of history teachers would, and a lot of teachers would just throw a lot of information on them. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, you know what? They're never going to remember this information. Let's just get the basic bones of what was going on.
Right.
And then let's try to relate it either to today or something that's going on to today.
So you'd, like, converse.
Converse it. I like to.
That just means that you got the louder, more.
Right.
You were more engaging, possibly, to the purples and the reds.
Right, exactly.
And sometimes the greens if they like the subject.
Yeah.
And that means that kind of like the blues and the indigos and the turquoises are like. Ugh.
And the yellow would do just enough to get the points that they knew that they had to get.
And the yellows are taking all these notes. They're like, oh my God, do you have a graphic organizer for that?
Yes.
Hang on. Is that going to be on the test? Is that going to be on the test? Is that going to be on the test? Like that.
Yes. And if I answer this one question, I'll get my class participation points, and that's all I need to do for the class.
So you probably were like teaching to kind of more a different, your aura style was like a different, those kids.
Yeah.
So maybe that's why and those tend to be kind of dominated by, like, male roles tend to fall upon those aura colors in learning situations.
Yeah.
All right. Got it.
Okay. Yeah. And that's just being honest.
No, that's fine. If you're interested in the aura gender stuff, like I said, I did a whole episode about it where I talk about that. All right. It's unfortunate. It's part of our reality, but it is. And we're changing it. We're trying to. All right. Turquoise. This is our little Abby. Okay. So it's everything blue plus one extra thing that scares the heck out of me. And that is, they'll believe they are what you think they are. So a blue and an indigo will maintain their sense of self or identity. And turquoises, because they're such reflectors and they're such absorbers, they're like, oh, wait a second. Who am I supposed to be when I walk into this classroom? Or in the case, like I started my story about Abby with her seatmate, who does my seatmate need me to be? This is who I am this year. And they believe it. Oh, who does the teacher think I am? Oh, this is who I am. What does my learning context think that I am? What am I going to absorb? I'm this role. And then they believe it. They don't understand that they're not that. So it can be really screw with their identity and like how they view their own intelligence and their capabilities. And my question is for you turquoises, how does that affect you in the rest of your life? Like any situation you go in when you learn something, what do you feel? What are you absorbing, and what are you thinking about yourself? What assumptions are you making about yourself that aren't true? Just like you're picking up from your environment or whatever. So the other thing I noticed with turquoises is they just kind of, well, you said it yourself. They can get a little spacey. What'd you notice about the turquoise kids?
Yeah, that's what I would think now. Like those were the kids that maybe seemed aloof, or they kind of just like out to lunch. Like, they seem a little out to lunch.
That is like Abby.
Yeah, and you can't put your finger on it.
Yeah,
and you're like, wait, what's going on in there? Like right. Hello in there.
Yeah,
and or they say something, and you're like, huh? Like now that looking back on it, those were the turquoise kids.
Right.
You almost kind of didn't know what to do with them.
Right.
I would have said, what do I do with this one? Or how do I get through to this one? They seem so out of it. They don't seem to pay attention, or and now it's like maybe they're just turquoise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what I noticed with Abby and other turquoises is they're paying attention. They're just paying attention in a different way.
Right.
What I noticed with turquoises is they make connections in the most jumpy ways. So you can be teaching them, I don't know, math, and then they like tell you a story from a YouTube channel that they saw, and then all of a sudden they get you the answer, and you're like, what process did you just go on to but they end up with it correct. So I feel like the way that it's almost like they expand out into the knowledge, and then they kind of go right back. They snap back, and I feel like they go out energetically and pick up kind of all sorts of different unlike concepts and different things, and they go here and they go there, and they make all these interesting connections, and then they come back focused with the answer. But it's kind of like they have to expand and collect themselves, and then expand and collect over and over and over and over again. And I think the problem with turquoises and just in life in general is if when you don't come back to collect yourself, like when you stay out in the expand. So anyway, that's just what I noticed with turquoise, even talking to turquoises or just having one or just being more aware of how they work now. They kind of go out, get a little spacey, make a lot of weird connections, but it all means something. They come back to the focus.
Yeah. But I could see a teacher not, of all the colors, maybe understanding them the least.
Yeah, they 100%.
Yeah, or people in general. Let's take it past teachers. People in general in society seeing a turquoise and understanding them the least.
The impression that turquoises give off to people in terms of, I guess, intelligence or capability would be kind of like, can you handle this? I would say like different aura colors inspire confidence based on their intelligence in different ways. And turquoises doesn't mean you don't have it. Obviously you do. There's a lot of smart turquoise people. It's just the way that you can kind of give it off. And then be aware of that.
Yeah.
Because other people underestimate you, and that doesn't mean you should be underestimated. And that's a big thing. Like when you sense other people are underestimating you, for everybody, notice that. And be like, oh, they're underestimating me. Doesn't mean it's real, at all. And it's hard to send these kids to these institutions where they're taught that 100 times it's hard to go somewhere and 100 times a day not measure up to whatever the institution, the school situation or whatever your learning situation is, and not measure up the way that it's set up.
Yeah.
It does, you get a belief in your system like, I guess this is who I am.
Yeah.
And turquoises, I think, are most at risk of believing that.
I agree.
Go
to pinks?
Yeah, so let's talk about some pinks. So pinks are often like really full of wonder. Let's put it that way. They're optimistic people. They're very playful. They're very intelligent, but the way that they present themselves, society can assume they're just like childlike or innocent or naive and really underestimate them. So it's kind of like the underestimating like turquoises, but to the point where it comes with judgment. I see pinks getting judged a lot. I mean, you think of different pinks, like we've been talking about, like Britney or Marilyn Monroe or Cardi B. Like they get judged a lot for their behaviors and the actions. If they're women, they get judged for kind of how they present their sexuality and whatnot. So in the classroom, it's hard with pinks because there's not a lot of them and society does so much to squash them. But I feel like they kind of get
called out a little bit by certain teachers and even kids in the classroom. They might be like the fun one to kind of have a fun banter with, or like, oh, what are we doing today? You know,
Yeah.
Susie, like, what's going on? What are you wearing? What do you think about this? You know, and expecting some sort of superficial answer that makes everybody laugh or something.
Right. Yeah, I'm still grappling with this one.
Yeah, you can't remember any pinks.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking like they covered their whole notebook with stickers. Like the entire notebook with all these little stickers.
Right.
And have like a
scratch and sniff stickers.
Yeah, have like a pen with the pom-pom on the end. Like something like that.
They've got like
what's that pen you have there? You know,
like, what's
that.
this great pen? They're like, oh my God. And then like they get really excited about it.
Yeah. Exactly. Something like that. Again, I probably would have at that time, and even maybe still today, I still confuse them with the purples, you know, because maybe their outfits on Halloween, they're the ones that dressed up.
A real festive, yeah.
But purple could be that too. So
right.
Yeah. Hard to diagnose at this point still for me.
I think like as a learner and in life, it's even like greens a little bit. If they're interested in something, they'll do well. If they're not, they truly don't care.
Yeah.
You know, because they can live in their bubble. So like what other people think or what the report card says about them really doesn't always reflect how they feel inside about themselves. That's a healthy purple, really. I'm sorry, healthy pink, really. Like when your grade does not give you any sort of self-worth indicators, you know, and I think a healthy pink is like, oh yeah, I got that. Okay, whatever. I got this pom-pom pen. That was my... That's what it is. I did good on that. You know, it's more about kind of like what makes them happy versus, I guess, an external indicator of their intelligence. But they're harder to spot.
Yeah, harder,
but I can see in class, like I think they get made fun of in movies a lot. A little bit like I think of Clueless, you know, when she stands up and does the debate, you know, and everyone's like, yay, or whatever.
Yeah, because I'm trying to think like. Because I would always like kind of like have a couple of kids in each class, but usually be the boys I would do it more too because I didn't want to upset the girls. So like I'd have a couple of kids that I'd pick on or tell my jokes. Like every time I make the corny jokes that I make on the podcast, I made them then too.
Yes,
but I usually
but just to the same thing.
Same with the kid. Yeah, it's the same thing. They got the same corny jokes, and I have a couple of kids. But I think I probably would have picked on more of the guys.
What was the ones you knew who could handle it?
The ones that can handle
it. Some kids love it.
And some kids, some kids are terrified of it.
Yeah, and but some kids, they love it. They're like, oh my God, do it. I'm excited. Yeah. It's so exciting. Some kids are great. And then you usually know which kids those are.
Because I was the kid that, like, if you did that to me, I would have loved it.
Me.
Yep, make fun of me.
I think, like, a pink is like Elwood's. Like, what? Like, it's hard. Like that. Like, they're smart. They just decide when to be smart. Right. So that kind of thing. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this segment. I got really excited about it. I'm really thankful to our guest, Professor Scott.
Of course. You can find me
Scott.
On my secret TikTok account. I am
Yes. Are you finishing that? Or
Yes. My Instagram is huge. I forgot what my handle name is, but it's really big.
Scotty Ross 40.
Yep. I am big on other social media apps as well.
Right. Yeah. I hear you have a podcast.
I do. Yeah, I have a podcast.
I'm thankful that you came on because I needed somebody that really taught for a long time. So my point of this episode was, how do you present yourself when you're learning something? And how did that affect you as a kid? How does that affect you now? If you have kids, how is it affecting them? And how did it affect your self-confidence today? Because I bet a lot of how you were treated and a lot of how people took you and the impressions they gathered from you affects you today. Yeah. You might think that you're bad at this or good at that or terrible at this or you don't like this. And it actually has nothing to do with you. It's how somebody else interpreted you because of your aura color, because of the energy you were vibing off. Doesn't mean you don't have the ability or the intelligence or the capabilities. Because like I said at the beginning, my experience from teaching was every single kid, like I would look at the classroom like they're all smart. Like they can all flip and do it. You know, like they can all they're all amazing in their own ways. And I don't even mean that in a cliche way. Like they all had something. I remember I had this one kid and he got zeros all the time. He was awful at Spanish. And Spanish isn't hard, okay? Especially the way I taught it. It's not hard. You just have to do it and then you'll get 100. Like seriously. And we went on a field trip to Tiff Nature Preserve, which is in the Buffalo area. It's just like an outdoor place. And he was in my group because every teacher got a group of like 10 kids, and he was in my group. And this kid didn't talk to me, and he didn't do anything. He got zeros, and he actually was annoying to me because when anybody kept getting zeros, the principal was like, "That's your fault somehow." And I was like, "Okay." Anyways, he kept showing me snakes. He would get snakes and show me, and he was picking up, and he was so gentle with them, and he was pointing out where all like the snails and all the wildlife was, and I'm like, "Oh my God!" I'm like, where's this kid? You know, he was so cool, and he was showing us all, and he would touch them, and he was so gentle. And, he's a great kid. It didn't shine at school. And so, you're all great too. So I hope you know that.
Well, and I know this one hit home for you because after that conference you came home and you were very upset because you know the whole scenario in Aura Color.
I did.
And obviously the teacher does not. She's not a listener to the podcast.
Right.
I mean, she might be. We hope not, actually. It's boy.
I love her.
But,
no, I have to say, she's a great teacher. She's doing a good job.
Yeah.
And Abby's doing a good job. And this is real life.
No, it's real life.
And it's on my
end. You came home fired up. So.
Well, it's on my end. I got to teach my kid her turquoise self-advocacy tools. That's on me. The world's not going to do that. Okay. Like I got to do that. So that's on me. I can't do that. So here we go. I worked it out. Thanks for being my therapist, guys. Okay.
So we want to hear from them.
So I want to hear.
You want to hear from me first?
I think this is overtime.
Overtime?
Overtime.
Oh, we're going overtime today?
This is overtime.
I was not expecting overtime.
I'm calling it overtime.
Okay.
You may all leave.
Usually
I
call overtime. All right, changing the roles. Okay.
I got to change
role reversal.
Role reversal.
Men can call overtime. Women can call overtime too.
Okay.
Tell
us about the what was it called?
The open house
curriculum night.
Oh yeah, I went with Bree.
I do elementary. You go to the middle school.
Yeah, it was weird. Okay, because it was really weird. This is my first time going as a non-teacher.
Yeah, because we had the pandemic. So
the pandemic.
There hasn't been like an in-person curriculum night.
Yeah, so it was weird going because I used to do the open house night, and I used to know how much I used to hate it. Yeah, with parents coming in, and I'd tell the same jokes, and I had my whole shtick that I didn't change for like 10 years as well.
Yeah, and your crappy syllabus.
My crappy syllabus.
The typos.
And the first thing I realized, after sitting through all the other teachers that I went to, holy crap, I'm amazing. Like my presentation blew it. My zero effort presentation killed all of their presentations.
We are in Florida. I have to kind of just we're in Florida. Okay, go ahead. Well, that should explain everything.
I taught some years in Florida, New York and Florida, but I just wow, these presentations are horrible. And mine were fantastic compared to it. Like my jokes were great. Like they tried, but they just fell
at least
flat.
They tried.
I mean, some of them did.
Dragon teachers. Look at you.
One just showed me a video. One did not even talk. He just put on a video. They called it a hype video
of himself. Wasn't he himself?
Yeah, it was like him taking selfies of himself. And, it was the science teacher. Oh my God! I hope Bree's teachers don't.
You better hope.
Oh my God! Dude,
actually, I'm going to say something. I might have to stop you.
Yeah.
Because her friends.
Oh my God! Do they listen?
I don't know, but you never know.
Right. Let's just say he just showed us a video.
So don't name the subjects.
Okay, fine. A teacher in a subject. We won't name the subject.
Did a
hype video, and that was the presentation. Okay, what was that? Then. The other teacher, he was like a huge baseball fan.
Okay, that's fine.
And he was giving us statistics about baseball. It's like
okay.
And he seemed like a nice guy. He seemed nice enough.
Well, what's curriculum night is supposed to be about the curriculum.
I know, and very little was about the curriculum. That's the thing. The one teacher talked about this shop, and I don't know what's going on in this class.
Yeah,
he has this shop in the back, like a store.
I'm 1,000% sure you can't do that in New York when we were teaching.
Yeah, I think so. It's a store where he sells candies, waters, all sorts of junk food to the children, and they're coming in all day long.
But who gets his money? He does.
He does.
That's weird. That's weird.
Yeah, it's real weird.
And they're coming in all day long, while he's teaching?
While he's teaching, he was selling during the presentation. I bought something off.
You bought something.
I bought something. This guy's raking it in. I wish
they don't pay teachers enough, so they got to make money elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, this guy is definitely raking in.
No, you have to. That's the only way to survive nowadays.
Yeah, all he did the entire time was talk about how great the store was, and he told us stories and tales about the store.
He loves that store.
Yeah, he loves it. Like one kid, he does sales every day. So one kid bought 28 Snickers on sale, and then went around the school and sold them for a profit.
He was proud of the kid?
Yeah, he was proud of the kid. So I don't know what's going on there, but
like I said, it's tough times for teachers these days.
But going back to Bree, I didn't get any warm and fuzzy compliments. I did get like,
Like,
she's very smart. I got that.
You're Brianna's dad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she's got this friend she talks to the entire period. I got that.
Yeah.
Yeah, which her friend that she just yapping in the corner with.
I know.
But I did get she's on top of things. She's smart.
Right.
She's intelligent. But I didn't get any warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
And like it was weird because like the Spanish teacher said, "Oh, you're Brianna's dad." I'm like, "Yeah." And then she like moved on. And then the next, I love your child. She's so sweet.
Like the next person?
Yeah. I was just like, "Oh, you're Brianna's dad. Okay, nice to meet you."
Nice to meet you. Yeah.
And then the next
Oh
one,
my God, you're
God.
Jimmy's mom.
Oh, she's
I love
an angel.
him.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
perfect.
Because I did that when I did curriculum night.
But I didn't get any
like
of that.
every once in a while, I was like, "Oh my God!" I didn't even know I was doing it. Like, I love your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
I didn't
wow.
get any of that. Yeah. I don't know. So,
Tough times, man.
yeah.
Well, good thing she doesn't thrive on praise.
Yeah, that's true.
That's good.
She's self-motivated, which is good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's bring this
We'll
to the
just
page.
spin that.
Yeah, let's bring this to
Yeah.
the Miss Michaela Spiritual Family page.
Let's do it. All right. So I would love, if you are so inclined, to go to the Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family page on Facebook, and I'll put a post up. And I want to hear about just your experiences now that you've thought about it, you've reflected, your own learning experiences, how it shaped you, how it shapes you today. Maybe if you have kids, what you see going on with them. Make me feel better about my own teacher conference I had. No, but seriously, I love like when we all share ideas because on the page especially because I love when you guys share ideas because what happens is everyone gets insight and you all have the best insight and the best ways of approaching things. So we'll go there and we'll take it on there. But this podcast is for you and about you. And I'm so thankful you spent some time with us today.